Welcome to the Building Web3 Podcast. Today, I have my good friend Omar. He is a developer advocate at Starknet. Omar, before we get too deep into Starknet, give us a little introduction into yourself and how you got into this Web3 space, your come to crypto moment, so to speak.
Perfect, Jax. It's a pleasure to be here with you. Thank you very much for the invitation. So my name is Omar Espejel. I'm a Mexican citizen, and I currently work, as you mentioned, as a developer advocate for the Starknet Foundation. Before being in the foundation, I was at Starwar, which is the creator of Starknet, and an amazing company too, an amazing technical company. It was beautiful working there too. And before that, I was a machine learning engineer working at Hugging Face. Hugging Face, which is an open source, to me, is the leading open source company in AI, and it's an important counterpart to closed AI such as OpenAI, Anthropic, and so on. So basically, my love for openness is what brought me here. Like before anything, being in an open source AI company was amazing, but then you realize that maybe open source is not enough. Like there could be another step that goes beyond open sourcing stuff, which is the ability to always have information or data available to you whenever you want it, without it being censorable, because open source code or information can also be censored, and that's something that we don't take into account sometimes, or a lot of people like myself, we didn't know before. Like GitHub has censor repos. GitHub is a lot of times considered the panacea of open source or the house of open source code, but well, we forget that GitHub is owned by Microsoft, right? And they don't have like a very nice track of being very open. Well, in my opinion, Microsoft. So they have censored stuff like Tornado Cache repos. They censor it for, I think it was a week or week and a half, and they will do it again. No, 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 no questions at all. They would censor whatever they think that should be censorable, and the same goes for Hugging Face. Some AI models could be censored, and so as a summary, open source is not enough. We need to go to the next step, which is permissionless uploading of information that can always be there for you to retrieve it, and that is like the ultimate goal. And maybe now that I'm thinking about it while I'm talking about it, I think that there might be a next step that could be always being able to obtain the information even without connection to internet. Like I was talking about this with a couple colleagues in a recent offsite, and I think that is the next step. Like having always information or the data available for you, even if a third world war explodes. Like if you don't have internet, you don't have communications, how can you are able to retrieve the information that you want? That could be the next step in this line of always having information and knowledge available for you. So yeah, that's more or less my track on how I got into Starknet, and well, and specifically to Starknet because when I was a machine learning engineer, I was researching what could be like that next step for uploading our information, our data, and then I realized that the best solution was Ethereum since it was very decentralized. And then it seemed to me like the future of Ethereum would be in the layer two in the layer two section, particularly in zero knowledge. And Starnet is well known for being the precursor of zero knowledge in applied to Ethereum, and well, particularly of the Starks. And honestly, I thought that it was amazing. Then I got to meet the team. The Star Wars team is amazing. It's highly technical. It has a lot of integrity in what they are doing. They are focused on building, and they are shipping a lot. And now I'm working with the foundation, which is great because we are focusing on other stuff like bringing more developers, attracting more companies to use Starnet as a network, also the centralization of the network. So we are giving the next steps. So that's more or less my story.
And for people that are unfamiliar with what Starknet is and what they're doing, tell us a little bit about the mission and how they're trying to transform the Web3 ecosystem.
Well, basically, I would say that the Starnet has the mission of scaling Ethereum. Uh, I know that this is the mission that other layer twos have also, but for us, we really want to do whatever is required to scale Ethereum, in the sense that, for example, we do not believe that Solidity and we do not believe that the EVM are the way to scale Ethereum. So we do whatever is necessary to scale Ethereum, and that means creating a new language, creating a new virtual machine that is a Cairo virtual machine, that is the one that we're using, doing whatever is required. And it has some trade-offs, of course, because it could be a shortcut to build, for example, a zero knowledge EVM. It's not. I don't mean that it's easy, but it's. I mean, you already have a Solidity community, so you want to leverage the EVM, so all these, so you can easily plug your I don't know your chain to the Ethereum liquidity in the EVM, right? Which is great. It's an amazing. It's great. It's amazing. You get a lot of new. You get all the developers that are already familiar with Solidity. You get all the liquidity in the Ethereum ecosystem, in the EVM ecosystem. However, it has some limits, and time and with time and all the technology that advances, you realize that these limits you came to see them. For example, just yesterday was the last upgrade of Starknet, and now it is without a doubt the fastest network, the cheapest network, the layer two, the cheapest layer two, the fastest layer two, and that's because our technology is finally like it's not hard to build this system, so it's finally taking off and giving results in this sense, and this will only multiply with time. Like we'll get more fast, it will even more faster. We'll get even more cheaper, and we will increase that separation with all those networks that are trying to emulate the EVM. Of course, the trade-off here is that it's difficult for us to bring developers. Well, you could say that because we need to teach them Cairo, which is the language that we're using. So if you know Solidity is not enough to code in Starknet. So there's like a trade-off in there. But to be honest, we are here for the next 50 years, and we believe that even if at the beginning things are a little bit slow, we believe that in the middle term, in the long run, we want to be there. We want to continue building, and we want more developers to come and build with us. So basically, our mission is to scale Ethereum at whatever cost it means. Although I must mention that recently there was also an announcement that Starware is also building a verification layer in Bitcoin. So there's been a lot of investment in bringing Starknet into Bitcoin. So if OPCat gets merged gets added to the Bitcoin blockchain, then we will be able to have a Starknet in both Ethereum and Bitcoin at the same time. So we will be able to have DeFi with Bitcoin at a native level. I mean, not like a bridge or something like that. It's at a highly secure level. So I don't know. Maybe now the mission could be stayed as scaling the blockchain ecosystem. Could it be? But at the same time, not taking the shortcuts of maybe being. I don't know. We don't want to scale Solana, for example, right? We want to scale these high integrity networks, like famous. I'm not saying that Solana doesn't have integrity, but these famously integral blockchains such as Bitcoin and Ethereum, which are the most decentralized now, and the most resistant. So we want to scale both right now, Bitcoin and Ethereum. Hopefully, the Bitcoin stuff will happen. It's not sure yet, but at least for the moment, we are scaling Ethereum. So I don't know. To be honest, we are focusing on the next in the next 50 years. We want to have something very very special, and we're working day by day to that. And as I told you, like sometimes it doesn't show in the liquidity now, but yeah, we are aiming for the long run here.
Yeah, and you touched on a few things there that I want to talk about in scaling Ethereum. So we've had some other layer twos on here. You at Starknet have introduced a new programming language. Let's talk about some of the gaps of Solidity, because we've talked with Movement Labs. They're obviously really pushing Move.
With whom, sorry?
Movement Labs.
Okay,
Move, the programming language, came out of the Facebook Libra project. Then
amazing language here, but
then there are other programming languages, of course, like Solana is written in Rust. You've got Arbitrum's Stylus, where they're able to compile down, or maybe it's transpile. I'm not the exact sure the terminology. But talk to us a little bit about like why not go with some of the existing off the shelf, like why not Solidity, why not any of these other languages, and like why build your own?
Well, First of all, we believe that Solidity is not a nice language per se, right? But that's not particularly the reason. The reason, if we could use Solidity, we would have used it. If we could have used Moop, we would have used it. Why don't we use them? Is because uh, Cairo is not only a language; it's also when you compile a language, it's also a virtual machine, right? So when you compile something in Cairo, when you combine the code, it brings you a zero knowledge proof. So it's optimized for that, for creating zero knowledge proofs. So this is something that you don't have in Move or in Solidity. Otherwise, we would have used Solidity or Move. Would have been easy for us to scale it. Well, I would prefer Move in that case. But yeah. So you could say that Cairo is optimized for zero knowledge. Is you could think about it as Circon, which is very very known in the cryptography ecosystem because you are able to create zero knowledge proofs with SNARKs. But it's very difficult. Well, it's difficult to use. It's difficult to use, and you need to build the circuits. You need to think about the zero knowledge that you're creating. While Cairo abstracts all this from the developer. So the developer he's kind of writing like he's writing code similar to Rust or to Moop in this case, but he's not thinking about the zero knowledge components that are beneath it. So the circuits are taken care already with when you compile the code, you generate a proof, and that's it. So that's why we're using Cairo. And at the same time, we take our liberties to optimize Cairo, like the way that we believe. We're taking a lot of care in building Cairo, so to make it as as developer friendly as possible. So you could say it's kind of like Rust, but not exactly like Rust. Because at the same time, I remember I used to do a couple Solana contracts in the past, and also a Stylus contract in the past with Arbitrum. And when you're using Rust, you can see that Rust is not optimized for smart contracts. Like, I mean, Rust is a general language, but and it's an amazing language, but it's not optimized for smart contracts, as you could say Moop, right? And Cairo. So when we're creating something out of nothing, we are taking the best practices of Rust, security, and so on, which is, I think, the path that a lot of languages are taking. For example, if you look at Python right now, Python is kind of Rustifying itself. It's very cool. It's very, very cool. So, but coming back, what we're doing is trying to create a language that not only can create zero knowledge proofs in the when you compile it, but also we went to make it a language that is made for smart contracts or well for smart contracts partially, but also to create zero knowledge proofs. Basically, I would say that is the main goal. So if you take a look at Cairo, it's not the same as Rust. Like, we have taken particular choices in the design that diverge from Rust. So we're not trying to copy and apply Rust to crypto, but we are rather trying to create something that is optimized for what we're looking for, and that's why also we're not using Move or Solidity. However, we are creating, like, there's this a project called Kakarot, which will allow you to use Solidity, and the Solidity code will be converted into in the end it will be taken to Starknet as Cairo. You could say as Cairo code. So it's kind of like converting this Solidity code into Cairo code. And we would like to have also that for Move. Like, you can create your Move code and it will be converted, you could say, to Cairo. But yeah. So that's the reason.
Yeah, and I know one of the core features of Starknet is these ZK proofs. Talk to us a little, because we've had, like, Velodrome, we've had like people from Base on here, and they're on the more optimism, like superchain type lifestyle. Talk to us a little bit about, like, why ZK?
YCK, I think that most people agree that zero knowledge is the CK is the future of Ethereum, because and it's important to say here that when we say zero knowledge, is we're using zero knowledge to compress the information from the blockchain, not for privacy matters, not for which is, well, zero knowledge is more is better known for its privacy features, but in reality, practically all the blockchains that are using zero knowledge technology is for compressing the information, which is great, which is amazing. And also, there's I think Aztec in the future might have like privacy also set up. Uh, I think they haven't launched their mainnet yet, but yeah. So we're using zero knowledge in this case, the Starks, which is a zero knowledge primitive, different from the SNARKs, which are widely used, for example, in I think Scroll is using SNARKs. But while slowly Starks are taking like a lot of space in the zero knowledge ecosystem. For example, CK Sync iterated to using Starks instead of Snarks. Also, Polygon Maiden is using Starks. Starknet is using Starks. Actually, Star Wars, the CEO Eliben Sasson is the creator of one of the creators of the Starks, which are now widely used in the crypto ecosystem. So why zero knowledge? Because it allows you to scale more. Like again, like the the goal of Starnet is to scale. So optimistic rollups do not allow you to scale. They allow you to scale up to a certain point, right? When you when you reach that, like you can scale. I think in a constant like there's a very clear limit in optimistic rollups. If I'm not wrong, like in traditional optimistic rollups, like there's a limit where you can no longer continue scaling in terms of, for example, speed. So there's only speed and also cost. So there's a limit they can scale. I think Arbitrum and Optimism might have already reached that limit. Actually, I think if I'm not wrong, Optimism doesn't even have like fraud proof. So I don't know if they are optimistic rollup. I don't think so. Arbitrum seems like they are an optimistic rollup, right? But while Starknet, CK Sync, and other zero knowledge based rollups are able to scale a lot with this technology. In what sense? In the sense that whenever you receive several transactions, you can compress all these transactions, make them like smaller, you could say, and then you pass it to the layer one, to the Ethereum layer one. So the more transactions that you have, the more you can compress them and then send it to the layer one. So in other words, it's like you're scaling in a logarithmic scale. So you, in the sense that price is getting lower, 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 lower. The more transactions you have. So in a world where we have much more transactions, which we hopefully will be soon, then it will be even cheaper and cheaper and cheaper for us to for users to make transactions. So that's one. Other thing is that the speed of the zero knowledge, the speed you can optimize the prover that is creating the Starks, the Starks primitive, so you can make it also as fast as possible. And that is, for example, what is happening now in the new update by Starknet. So we are becoming very, very, very fast. And I think this is only the beginning. Like there's a lot of things that you can do to optimize for for being faster and being cheaper. And the worst combination that you could have in terms of being able to scale is to be an optimistic EVM rollup. Like like I think all of them, if I'm not wrong. For example, Optimism and Arbitrum, for example, they are constrained due to the first due to the optimistic due to the fraud proofs. So the architecture doesn't allow them to scale that much in that sense. Secondly, the EVM is also, and we can talk about that if you want, but the EVM is also a constraint in itself. Like if you want to emulate the EVM, there are a lot of rules that you need to follow, which doesn't allow you to scale that much. That's why we have Cairo, because we don't want to follow the constraints by the EVM. The EVM wasn't made to scale, and we don't want to follow that. So that's why if you have a zero knowledge proof based rollup plus, which is non EVM, such as Starnet, and maybe also Stylus. Stylus, for example, I think that all Optimism and Arbitrum are both realizing they are aware that there are better paths. So if I'm not wrong, for example, Arbitrum, which is known for creating quality products and iterating very fast, with their Stylus product, they are now able to. If I'm not wrong, they're using zero knowledge in this new product, or they are planning to do it, but they are looking to the future, right? Like Vitalik himself has said that zero knowledge is the future. That he sees zero knowledge as the future of blockchain technology, and particularly the Starks against the snarks, which is another topic that we can talk about. But yeah, basically that's the reason. As a summary, when you have zero knowledge, you are able to scale further, and the limits are less than when you're using an optimistic design.
Yeah, let's talk about that real quick. The Starks versus the Snarks. So tell us real quickly how those what those two terms even mean, and then what's the difference.
Perfect. So Starks were invented. I think if I'm not wrong, they were applied by Zcash first, maybe. I think it was by Zcash, which Eli Ben Sasson, again, who is the CEO of Star Wars, was one of the participants in the. He was the scientific director or something like that of Zcash at that moment, something like that. I might be wrong, but he had a big stake in Zcash when they started using the SNARKs protocol for the SNARKs primitive to cryptography, which they are quite lean, they are very useful, and they are very good. And then Eli Sasson iterated into maybe creating something that is more powerful than Snark in the future. So he created the Stark around 2016, 17, which then led to the creation of Starknet. But basically, the Starks are heavier than a Snark. So that's why a lot of people were not using Starks at the beginning, because they are heavier, they are more expensive to use than a snark, but it has a couple qualities that are very interesting. For example, it is I think this is the most important one, and might be the most famous one, and also why Vitalik said that the future was with Starks. Vitalik himself has said that Starks are the future, is because they are quantum resistant, meaning that there's a lot of research currently on how the world is going to look like after quantum algorithms are successful. And in particular, there's a quantum algorithm that I don't remember the name right now, but it's like a measure that all these amazing quantum quantum programming developers, they are aiming to break the cryptography based on elliptic curves. So they are trying to be able to break this cryptography, which is something that all the financial system is on top of elliptic curves. So whenever they manage to break this algorithm, it will be chaos for the world. So a lot of companies are already, well, there's a lot of research done in how can we create systems or cryptography that is not based on elliptic curves but in something else. And the snarks are based on elliptic curve cryptography, while the starks are based not on this kind of cryptography, and is theoretically resistant to a quantum computer trying to crack the cryptography beneath the Stark. And this is something that I mean, we don't know if we will ever have quantum computers. We are not. We don't know that. The hardware is something very complicated, but at least it's calculated that in 3 years, 4 years, we will have quantum viability, which is basically it will be cheaper to use certain quantum algorithms, not this one in particular, but other kind of quantum algorithms. And I don't know, maybe in the future you will be able to break the elliptic curve cryptography. Maybe in, I don't know, like 4 or 5 years. Like being realistic here, 4 or 5 years, you can break you could break the elliptic curve cryptography. Maybe I don't know, like by running an algorithm for 2 days, 3 days, which is not enough for breaking the financial system. But we need to prepare for that. And it's better if we create all the infrastructure. Again, we want to be here for the next 50 years. So in the next 50 years at least, well, I think we'll have the quantum computers. So that's why we're trying to build everything on top of Starks. And also at the same time, a lot of research on Starks are making them lighter and more efficient to use, in contrast with how it was in the past. So slowly it's beginning to be the like recognized as the future of zero knowledge. For example, again, for Polygon is investing a lot of money into Maiden, which is a product they have that is based on Starks. Also, CK Sync iterated to becoming Starks, to using Starks in, I think it was 6 months ago, something like that, or 1 year ago. I don't remember exactly, but they iterated to this. I don't know exactly what kind of zero knowledge Arbitrum is using, but I don't know. It remains to be seen. But Risk Zero is also using Starks. So slowly we're having more and more Starks product in the market, and I think this is a trend that we will only see increasing in the near future. So yes, that's why we believe that Starks are really in the future. Yeah.
Now let's talk about, because earlier you mentioned that one of the biggest challenges facing Starknet is trying to build on, or really to get more developers on the ecosystem. Tell us about some of the challenges you guys have faced there and what you are doing in order to bring more people in.
That is our question. So, yes, indeed, it is a relevant challenge that we have. Like, how can we add more developers? Because again, we're not using Solidity. So, uh, what we're trying to create, and that is part of my job. Like, how can we add more developers and show them the power of a startup so they can use our network more? And I think the most important thing is to have something that is real, something that is actually working, something that is not that we can. I don't know if you consider. I could consider myself a salesperson in that sense. Like I cannot tell you that this is really the future, or that this is really that this will be in the future, or that it's going to be very good, or that it is very good. If I don't believe it's very good, if the product is actually not good, right? So Starnet needs to be very robust, needs to be a very good network, and the language needs to be good. So that's the first step, like having something real. You cannot bring developers to, well, I mean, developers easily can catch bullshit, right? And more with our philosophy, which is mainly not showering developers with money, because a lot of projects what they do is to inflate numbers, and this is very common practice and awful practice in crypto is to inflate numbers. They basically give them a lot of grants, like come build something with me and I will give you some money, and that is not sustainable again. And this is, I think this could be the title of this podcast, but basically what we're doing is something that will be for the next 50 years, and we cannot spend money in because these guys are mercenaries, right? And it's okay. It's okay. I mean, everyone does what they want to do, and if the incentives are set up for that, it's okay. But we don't want mercenaries. We want people that believe in the technology, that they are here to build. And yes, of course, they want to build a business. They want to create something that is worthwhile for the time, that can be compensated for the time, right? But we don't want people that are jumping in between different ecosystems, like I don't know, like very easily because of the money, right? So that opens the question, and it's a difficult situation. How can you bring developers without showing them in money, and also into an ecosystem that is different from what they know? I mean, they know Solidity. So what can you do? Well, create a very robust network that is as good as possible, focus on the fundamentals to create a nice product, create a lot of tooling that is useful for them, try to improve the documentation as much as possible, making the language as like improving it as fast as possible and iterate on it, and then try to evangelize people that are highly technical, that can understand what we're doing. And then you create kind of like a cult. It's basically a cult in the sense that everything that is open source and that is worthwhile is starts as a cult. Like if you take a look at Linux at the beginnings of Linux and so on, is a cult basically. And so what we're creating is a cult of developers that, again, they are not expecting to be showering money. Otherwise, they would be in other ecosystems. Like they are talented guys, but they want to create something that they like what our proposal with Starknet. They like what we can create, what they can create with it, and they they compromise with Starknet, and you can see that it's paying off. Like now the network again is the fastest layer two, is the cheapest layer two, and this is only the beginning. This will only keep to increase and increase and increase and increase the separation with all layer twos, because we don't have the constraints that they have with the EVM and with the optimistic proofs, for example. So basically, yes, we try to create kind of like a cult of developers that are highly technical, that want to build this future, that this dream that we're trying to build all together. And By the way, they don't need to be like currently. You don't need to be highly technical to use Cairo. You just need to learn how to program and create something. But well, we want developers that can create something, and yes. So basically, the first step is creating a good product that developers can fall in love with it, because otherwise they won't stay. Like, developers are not stupid. Like, and mainly these developers that we have, they are not stupid. If they don't like what they see, they will iterate to another stuff. Like, and it's perfectly okay. So our best feedback is that we have an amazing technical community that they like to use it, and that we are not showing in money them. So they are not staying here for the money, you could say, because open source like that. I mean, crypto is like a very weird ecosystem. As I mentioned before, I used to work in machine learning, and in machine learning, this concept of grants doesn't exist at all. This concept of giving money to developers doesn't exist at all. If I'm not wrong, that doesn't exist in any other place but in crypto. I mean, in crypto, so developers tend to be different. Like, they tend to be a different mindset. Like, okay, how much money are you going to give me for creating a code in your platform? And the answer is none. The answer is none. Like, we want products. We want to people to create products. If you have a good product, great. You will be able to sustain yourself. But I mean, we are not we are not your lifeline. We don't want to be your lifeline for maintaining yourself and your family, right? We we are just a platform. When have you seen Amazon Web Services give grants? I mean, aside from, I know, like $200 grants to developers to build something on Amazon Web Services, that doesn't exist.
Oh,
So
actually,
so I'm
sorry to clarify.
uh,
Actually, it does, because I used to work
mm,
at Google and Amazon. So what they would do is they would invest in early stage companies, and they would give them a certain amount of AWS or GCP credits in order to build on their platform. So it was really only
uh,
highly selective. But that's the only other place where I see this like grants concept come in mind. But it's
what do you mean
for very
credits,
select
right?
startups. Yeah, so they would give it a certain amount of credits to build on the platform, and usually it'd be quite. And then sometimes they would have these like venture arms that would invest in early stage
Mm.
startups with the like wink of like, hey, you're going to be building on GCP.
Uh, I mean, that makes a lot of sense. But do they give them like money, like cash? I mean,
No, no
not
credits,
as an
credits.
investment, but as a grant. Exactly, credits are more common in the AI industry, for example, or as you mentioned in Google or Amazon. But where do you see? Where does people receive money, like, not as an investment? I mean, equity free money. It's not common
No,
at all. Well, at least I
not
haven't
common.
seen it in blockchain. Yeah. So it's a particular industry. Yeah. So attracting developers is a tricky question, because you want a developer that is that feels the compromise of building in your blockchain, like, but not because of the money. They want to be there because they can create something great. But at the same time, you don't want to attract mercenaries. But at the same
Yeah.
time, you need to attract products and liquidity. So it's quite complex, and it's that's basically my job and what I do for a living.
Yeah.
And it's very nice. It's very nice. It's very nice, and I'm very happy with the Starnet community.
Yeah, I always find this industry very interesting when I work in it. And two, it's like essentially we're all developing our own city states where it's like, imagine you now have like the Republic of Omar and you have your own money
Hmm.
printer and you're like, we need to attract people to come build houses and like infrastructure here. And we have this money printer, but we can't just completely turn it on. Like we can't just shower everyone money or else like inflation will go
Exactly.
rampant. And like people might just leave the second we stop turn off the money tab. So yeah, it's a very interesting problem. Like we're all building like mini city states slash cults.
I haven't thought about that. Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. Like, you have your small mini city with its own uh, money, but as you mentioned, you cannot print it and give it to everyone because inflation will ramp up, and then people will left when there's no money anymore. And
Mhm.
so yeah, as you mentioned, it seems like a very complex economic problem.
Yeah. Yeah. And then you can run into this problem where and I think you see this all over crypto, is you essentially have like these Chinese ghost cities, not necessarily that they're Chinese, but like these ghost towns where you built up a bunch of infrastructure because you showered people with money. And the second you turn off the money tap, they leave because no one's actually truly invested in the ecosystem. And it might be partly because like we're
Wow.
building things that aren't better alternatives to the Web2 ecosystem, or we haven't proved that out yet. Like I always say this is when my mom visits a website, she's never like, oh wow, this uses MongoDB, or wow, this uses like AWS cloud functions. She's just like, oh, this is fast. That's what she thinks.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
I
It
feel
does
like
what I want to do.
it
Yeah.
does what I want to do. So like I think in the future we really just have to like somehow just build a better solution that like people don't even use it because it's on a blockchain. Like it's so weird, right? That you would give. Let's even talk about airdrops real quick. It's very
Mm-hmm.
peculiar that you would just like, oh, you use MongoDB based websites. Here's $100. No company would do that, but in crypto land we do. It's kind of peculiar.
No, I completely agree. I completely agree. The incentives are very, very, very weirdly set up, and I haven't thought about it, but that point about the Chinese empty cities, like, making a lot of
Mhm.
sense. They have amazing infrastructure, but they are lacking the community, the usage of this infrastructure, the business. What I mean, like, I also heard about this new Korean capital that they're trying to build, like an alternative to Seoul, but no one is
Mhm.
going there because all the ecosystem is built on Seoul, so people don't want to move there. So it's as you mentioned, it's a very complex problem. And then moving to what you mentioned about the airdrops, is that is completely true. And for example, I don't know if you do you know Sorare?
No, what's that?
Sorar, Sorar, Sorare is also, I don't know if it's pronounced Sorare, Sorar. It's basically, if you take a look at it in Google, it's interesting to me that you don't know it, because a lot of people don't know Sorar. And to me, it's the most successful blockchain company ever. Like, Sorar, look for it. Sorar is basically a fantasy game. Maybe you have heard about it. It's a fantasy game that uses it started with football, but now it is the main, is one of the main sponsors of the NBA, MLB. I think NFL soon, but it's, I don't know, if you take a look in Google, you will see that there's a photo of Messi and Cristiano Ronaldo using the Sorare T-shirt. So it's an incredible company. It's a unicorn, huge French unicorn that a lot of people don't know. It's based on blockchain. So and it's using the Starks technology and Cairo technology, and it's on top of a Starware infrastructure. And so rare, what you mentioned is crucial. Like, you want your mom to be able to use it without caring Amazon Web Services of your using blockchain. They want to accomplish what they are there to do, what they are looking to do. So if you get into Sorare and you create an account, you will realize that you don't even notice that you're using blockchain. So and you're using NFTs actually. So it's a self custodial web page like product, but you don't realize it's self custodial. And for example, we recently have, well, maybe we are still in a bear market, and a lot of crypto companies are losing a lot of money, or they are even shutting down because of it. However, Sorare doesn't even notice the bear market. Why? Because Sorare doesn't the users, the Sorare users, are not into crypto. These are simple individuals that go to their work every day and then come back to their house and just want to play a little bit of fantasy football, and make a couple bets. So they don't care about the price of Ethereum. So they keep buying their NFTs and trading. They don't even know it's an NFT. And they don't need to know it. As you mentioned, it's the underneath technology. They only need to do whatever they want to do, and that's it. And that's thanks to the technology provided by Starknet and Starware, which is account abstraction, which is crucial, and it's not that easy to have in Ethereum layer one or any EVM compatible network. So again, as you mentioned, what we're trying to do is scaling. What I mentioned, the scaling in fees, like making the lowest fees possible. Second, scaling in speed. But there's a third dimension that not a lot of people talk about, which is on the user experience. So user experience means being able to have, for example, a kind of abstraction, so that you can abstract all this crypto bullshit from the front end of your website, and you can have something like Sorare. And I really invite anyone here in this call, in this podcast, to take a look at Sorare. Create an account. You don't need to pay anything, and I dare you to look where the word blockchain is used, or the word Starknet or Starware or NFT. It's never used unless you really dig into the product. And then you will realize that you have an Ethereum address and that you have a wallet, but the wallet was created for you and you don't even realize it. So that's what we want in Starnet. We want to have low fees, to be very fast in transactions, and third, have the user experience so that you don't even notice that you're using blockchain. And we can, as you mentioned, forget about these airdrops because you're using MongoDB.
Yeah, absolutely. Now, I know you've been quite generous with your time. So finally, like, where can people learn more about Starknet, get involved with the ecosystem?
If you go to starnet.io, you will see you will see basically all you need to know about Starnet, the different products that are built on it. If you are a developer, you can also find more information there on how to build on top of Starnet. You can also contact me in my Telegram, which is Espejel Omar, Espejel Omar, in Telegram or in Twitter. So just pick me and let me know that you want to build something or you want to use Starnet, and I don't know, maybe join this I I don't want to call it revolution because it's not. I think that things. I think that most things like happen little step by step. So it's not like a revolution, like an explosion. But join this community of people that want to be here for the next 50 years and build the future of the centralized infrastructure. If you like Bitcoin, you have a place here. If you like Ethereum, you also have a place here. So welcome and ping me if you need anything. Thank you, Jax.
Amazing. Thank you so much for coming on here. And to all the builders, like, get involved with Starknet and go follow Omar online.